Okay, and we are live.
Awesome.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm Chloe.
And I'm Sandy,
Welcome
and
to WordStitch.
welcome to WordStitch, where we are
Yes,
sometimes a little bit late, but not always.
yes. On that note, I guess I should already be firing up the hourglass, huh?
We should be firing up the hourglass, yeah. And today, if you're with us, we're going to be talking about grammar and commas. But I don't know about you, Chloe. I'm in like some serious need of getting actual writing done, like real solid writing. So,
I not so much because I'm editing.
mm,
And I'm really just doing like a copy edit at this point. So by that I mean I have already done like all the
the hard part.
structural edits for this story, and ideally right now the only thing I'm going to notice is going to be the typographic errors,
Yep.
the thans when they should be thens, obviously the actual typos, the funky punctuation, the missing quotes. That being said, I'm sure I will absolutely destroy myself on my word choices. But that's all I have planned until the end of the month. And then like non-writing stuff, but like marketing stuff. So I feel pretty good right now. But Sandy, you need to get some work done. What are you working on right now, Sandy?
I have too many projects. I need to finish up a
Yeah,
fan
but like
fiction
right
thing.
this second, what are you working
So,
on?
so
In
right this
1 minute.
second,
Yeah, in
I've
1 minute, what will you be working on?
a fan fiction chapter that I've owed my people for like a month
Okay.
because it's eating up my ability to focus on anything else. I need to finish that story so that I can be done with it.
I'll allow it, I guess. I was hoping for something actual career, but
That is
that's
career.
okay.
That is so career, kind of, sort of. All right.
Yeah, I feel like you've already decided that it is not career, that it is a failure. It was a good idea, but it did not come to fruition.
More on that
Um,
later.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because for the next 10 minutes, things are going to come to fruition, even if it is a weird sect of fan fiction. We'll see you guys at 15 after. There I am.
Okay, we are back and
Yeah.
unmuted. All of the things.
Woo!
Yeah, yeah,
Doing better than last week.
we are doing. And the fan fiction thing, I mean, okay, look, I'm always
You don't have to
gonna
defend yourself.
no, but seriously, so I mean the attention span thing is kind of destroying me, but I actually have a couple fan fiction people who are reading Sassafras and they're like my favorite readers, you know? So I don't know. I don't feel like I could totally give up on that. Anyways, okay, but so today we are talking about grammar and we are like prepared because we tried this last week. There's a whole thing. It
Yeah,
didn't
you
quite
had a
work.
trial run on this.
And I think what we did last time is we started by talking about generally kind of like our philosophy of commas. Is that right? I think we did. Because we're talking about commas today mostly.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so Chloe, why don't you start? Like, what's your like general feeling about commas? When should they be used? When shouldn't they be
Also,
used?
like, there are places where commas absolutely have to be used. That is like in lists, and dates and stuff like that. Um, and I don't like. There's got to be some, like, when you're writing, like, you'll be talking about like placing them between two independent clauses and stuff like that. Like, there are some places where they absolutely have to go. However, when you're writing creatively, you should be able to use commas somewhat creatively within like a logical framework. So sometimes you do need that comma where there doesn't need to be one, for that dramatic pause. Or sometimes you need to get rid of those commas in order to like up the pacing or the panic of the moment. So there's a delicate balance to commas.
Yeah, okay. And I think I agree with that. Now, we use commas a little differently, right? It's like I tend to, I think, over
You
comma, and I think you under comma.
go against each other.
Yeah, but I don't know if this is actually on purpose. I think most of the time, if like you see a comma in mine that shouldn't be there, I probably agree. I probably just have failed to follow a rule.
Mhm.
And I think if you left out a comma that I think should be there, you can probably justify it. Like you probably have a
Yeah.
reason for it, and I would probably be fine if knowing the reason. But why don't we do like the basic rules then? That's the part
Yes.
I have. So, all right. So let me get my little PowerPoint up here. So if you are screen share, PowerPoint. PowerPoint is so complicated. Okay, there we go. So, in case it's been a while since you thought about why commas are there, and it had been for me, I don't necessarily know all of these terms. So quick reminder on like basic sentence structure. Every sentence, every complete sentence has a subject and a predicate. And that subject is the who or what that the sentence is about. So usually it's like the noun. And the predicate is what the subject is doing. So you like in a simple sentence, that's the verb. So by example, Sandy walked the dog. Sandy is the subject. Walk the dog is the predicate. And this is something that should be really easy for all of us writing. But it's surprising how often people don't actually write complete sentences. Seriously. So now, assuming that you're good with complete sentences, then some sentences are complex, and this is because they have more than one clause. And there are two types of clauses. We've got our independent clauses and our dependent clauses. And again, if it's been a while since you thought about this, an independent clause is one that could stand alone as a sentence. So it has a subject and a predicate. It doesn't really need anything else. Whereas the dependent clause is missing either the subject or the predicate. So it can't be a complete sentence. It has to be an add-on to something else. So for example, Sandy walked the dog and met a neighbor. Sandy walked the dog is an independent clause, and that could be a full sentence. Met the dog is a dependent clause because that couldn't be a full sentence. It's missing the subject. So on to our last part about this, before we get to the commas themselves. In a complex sentence, a lot of times what you have are two clauses joined together by a coordinating conjunction, and these are like the standards. So this is the and, but, or, so, not, yet, for. In our example, Sandy walked the dog and met a neighbor, and is the coordinating conjunction. Sandy walked the dog, but she didn't take out the trash, but is a coordinating conjunction. And that's how we see a lot of these complex sentences. Now here's for the rules. So rule 1, if you have 2 independent clauses connected by a coordinating conjunction, you need a comma. So if it's Sandy walked the dog, but she didn't take out the trash, and this is 2 independent clauses together, then you got to put that comma there before the but. Rule number 2 is if you have an independent clause and a dependent clause connected by the coordinating conjunction. Oh, there's a typo in mine. That should be no comma. No comma there in rule number 2. That's a big.
I don't see. Oh, yeah. Do not use a comma. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if I can actually fix this. No comma. Oh, no. Yeah. So do not. I think I can do this. No comma. So Sandy walked the dog and met a neighbor. You don't actually have to put that in there. And that's our basic rule then. Independent clause, comma, independent clause, dependent clause, no comma. Okay. So.
And I will say, I think that it's super important to go over this because that rule too, I see that broken all the time. I know I called you out a bunch with the one that you just did.
Yeah.
Which you said was just kind of your brain did a dumb thing. But also I just read, I'm not going to call the author out, but I did just read a series from a New York Times best-selling romance author, one through a major publishing house that I would say broke that rule at least once per chapter.
Well, you know, the tricky part,
just like a serial comma in between independent clause and dependent clause.
Yeah, because it's kind of easy to remember the independent clause, but I think, so the thing that throws me, and this is what I think you're talking about next, is when it's not that simple coordinating conjunction. Like if I put a comma in a independent dependent clause and it was with an and or a but, that was just a weird mistake. Like it wasn't supposed to be like that. That's not a general habit of mine. But if it was then or because or so, then I'm all messed up because I'm not good at that rule.
It wasn't that though. It was what it was exactly Sandy walked the dog and met a neighbor. It was just that, like, it was like, you know,
where the author was like doing that all the time. Like it wasn't like a bad mistake.
The scenario was where the independent clause and the dependent clause were both very long, but it would have only been an and in between them.
That's. Are we talking about my writing or the other person's writing?
No, the other person's writing. I mean, that was also how you do it. Like, that is exactly how people always get stuck in this. It's always like a slight, like, it'll be like a 4-line sentence. But it'll be, and I think it's that fear of run-ons because, and we haven't talked about run-ons, maybe sometime in the future we will talk about run-ons, but people have this fear of run-ons that, like, they've been trained to think that, like, if it's a really long sentence, it's probably a run-on, so I better throw a comma or something in there. And that's not the case. You know, it doesn't matter how long those two clauses are. If one is independent and the second is dependent, there's no comma there.
The problem that happens with this for me is when it becomes a list of clauses. So like instead of it being just meant to be like a one clause with a dependent clause, it's like I'm listing several things.
Oh, but if it's a list, then it's valid. Because it's more than 2 items on a list.
Right, but I mean that's where like your run-on sentences can get confusing because if the writer is reading it.
Yes, run-ons, there are all kinds of pitfalls in run-ons.
Right, but I think we can probably say with a run-on sentence, you've messed it up generally. So, I mean, do your best. In any case, so for now, we are word sprinting.
We'll run-ons later. I'm great at run-ons.
Awesome.
But it is 25 after, so we are going to sprint till 10 of. go get your writing or your editing or your fanfic. Do we really count that as writing? That's a joke. It's
Ha
writing.
ha ha.
We'll see you in 25 minutes, though. All right,
You
we're
are
back.
back. Oh, okay. I'm back too.
Yep. Are we
Oh,
muted
wait.
though? Am
You're not back. Why aren't you back yet?
I not back?
Wait, you're back.
Did I
You're
mess
back.
something up?
Nope, I had you muted. Sorry about that.
Hi, I'm back now. I've been back for a while, but Sandy had other thoughts on
Yeah.
that.
Sorry.
It's
Um,
okay.
so we had more comma stuff to do, right? And I think I have commas in lists and you have the because thing, right? Do you want to do the because thing next or the list thing next?
No, I was going to do the whoops. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do trying to get this queued up, and of course things are not working properly because I fail at everything with this. No, I'm doing the not X because Y situation.
Okay, you do that and then we'll do Oxford commas after that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It went really well last week, aside from the muting issue.
Yeah,
Um,
there was
what is?
that.
Oh, never mind. I've got some weirdness going on my screen, so hopefully this is going to end up working out okay. Um, better than last time. Okay. Is that sharing properly this time?
It is sharing properly.
Awesome. Okay. So I'm doing the scenario of not X because Y. Oh God, and I've totally lost my slideshow.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh,
Okay.
there was a really
Um,
nice cake there a second ago.
sorry. My background is a running stream for my Instagram because I am just that kind of person. Okay. So I'm talking about the comma in the phrase not X because Y. This is a very specific case, and I think it's an important case. So if we take this sentence, I do not like Sandy because she's a good writer. It sounds really catty, like I begrudge Sandy's ability to write, and it makes me dislike her more, that she's a better writer than me. But that would be the sentence, I do not like Sandy, comma, because she's a good writer. So what that comma does is it gives us the scenario of these two bracketed things that are separated. And it kind of turns into an if-then statement. It's just a because statement. So I do not like Sandy. And the because is she's a good writer. The scenario for this is not X, and the reason for it is Y. Um, and there's a better explanation for that if you like to put things in mathematical formulas. Not X because Y. Okay. So when I said I do not like Sandy because she's a good writer, what actually is happening is it's negating the statement because there is no comma there. It's simply negating the statement like Sandy because she's a good writer. So the X because Y statement is false. Again, I like to use logic on these things, and this is how the logic plays.
Uh-oh. Wait, I just lost you. Okay, hang on.
The usage of the comma
Hang on.
completely changes the meaning of the sentence.
Wait.
This comma gets used incorrectly a lot. So if you're having problems seeing what I'm saying with the false statement, that the I like Sandy because she's a good writer is a false statement. Normally when you have something like this, you're going to have more to the sentence. It's going to be, I do not like Sandy because she's a good writer. I like Sandy because she's nice and gives good advice. And this is something where not having inflection makes a big difference in this. If somebody's actually speaking to you, you're going to understand what they're saying. But sometimes it causes a little confusion when you read it. And that's why it's important to know this rule. I do like Sandy, but not because she's a good writer. I like her because she's nice and she gives good advice, and also because she is a good writer. And that is my explanation of not X because Y. How is that, Sandy?
I think that was a really good explanation, which hopefully everybody
I
caught.
feel like I went through it a lot faster this time, so I'm worried that I missed a whole bunch.
No, 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 no. I know. I don't think you did. I think it's, but you know, this is an issue of the inflection. You know, like normally, oh, we've got your cake again. It's
I'm
pretty.
sorry. It's because I was like flipping back around and yeah, I was gonna stop screen sharing so it looks less confusing.
Oh,
There we go.
it's fine. But
Yeah.
but I think it's a really good example because it's, I mean, the inflection thing is hard, and that's kind of the whole point of the comma. Like a comma is a pause or a breath, and so it's supposed to stand
Yeah.
in for something that you can't hear when you read unless you see the comma there. And I think that's maybe the biggest thing that people miss about commas, and it's the reason that like yeah, there are a couple of rules that sort of count, but stuff like this, the whole point of the comma is to make the English language easier to understand and to like put those inflections in that you would get in conversation.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, it's kind of fascinating if you think about that. Like we have
Yeah.
we have signs for breath in the English language.
Don't forget to breathe when you read.
Yeah, right. And we have signs for like little breaths and big breaths and like much
Mhm.
longer breaths and like thoughts. And it's, I don't, what is this? What is the semicolon? What kind of breath is that? A short
It's a
one.
partial breath.
It's a partial breath.
It's like if you're trying to do Morse code and you screw it up and you don't know if it's a dot or a dash.
I think it's a pause that says you're continuing the thought. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
So
Is it a dash?
I don't. Maybe it's a dash. I'm not sure. Also, I don't know if you noticed there. I had some muting issues. I think my headphones are muting you out for me, like every now and then. Hopefully, the audience is hearing you because they're hearing you through the app. So
Technically, before we started, I lost you for like 15 seconds when you were in the middle of explaining something.
yeah.
And I just yelled at you a whole bunch, but you didn't respond. I was like, oh, she must be not hearing me on her end either. But then, like, once it did pick up again, I just kind of filled in the blanks for your story. It wasn't that it was a bad story. It was just that, like, I heard you again, I was like, okay, I know exactly where this went. I could figure out what the rest of it was.
If only we could fix sound problems the way that we could fix grammar problems.
Thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Oh, no. I don't know. It's probably going off on a ramble.
Go off on a ramble. We have 2 more minutes in our break before we have to write. Ramble.
No, I was just thinking that, like, I saw, and now I don't remember what it was, but I saw in my story a place where I didn't do this because I'm not somebody who does commas in the wrong spot. In the I should qualify that in the independent clause to dependent clause. I saw like a perfect moment where that could have happened, and now I lost it. So it doesn't matter. But it wasn't even a long sentence. I could just tell by like the cadence of the sentence, like this is exactly the moment where this is going to happen.
Yeah.
But I lost it. Sorry.
Yeah. You know, and I think, yeah, it's. I always wonder, like I think a lot of people really struggle with the comma issue, and that I wonder, like, if they're reading their own stuff aloud to themselves. Like, if you did, then would you not notice like where you're missing the commas?
I don't know with that though, because there are places where like I could absolutely see myself putting a pause there if I wasn't so anal about it.
You know, the biggest thing for me with this is my text-to-speech readers are really good proofreading tools for me for things like punctuation. Because when you have a robot read it back to you, they have to follow the commas, right? So if something just kind of runs on, then you know that you've messed it up. And if it sounds like if it's the tone is right, then you put the comma in probably right. But it's a weird thing like that.
So it's 5 o'clock. If you're wondering what's happening right now, my computer just locked up just slightly, and so I'm waiting for it to stop.
Oh.
Waiting for it to unlock. It does this sometimes. Obviously, it's not completely locked up because I'm still talking to you, but I cannot currently select anything. I don't know. It's a weird glitch that it does. But once it happens, I will get this thing queued up. It won't be more than a minute. There it is. Okay. So we are doing 30 minutes. Sorry about that. I was hoping that like it would unlock before 5, and then it didn't. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna let Sandy keep talking. And hopefully she'll
like, let her go. Let her keep talking. It'll be fine.
Oh my God. So it is 5:01 or 1 past the hour if you are in another time zone. So you are going to write until 31 past the hour. Go.
Okay, now we're back.
Woo! We're
Yes.
back.
The muting thing. The muting thing is like a big problem for me. Yeah.
You've been having a rough muting patch.
Yeah. So I think we should start our comma thing right away here. Why don't I do the Oxford thing because that's relatively short, and then let's do yours because yours is really interesting. And I learned a lot thinking about it. So okay, so if you're back with us, we are thinking about commas and oh shoot, I just did that all wrong. Oh. And now I gotta find where my PowerPoint went.
There it is.
There we go. Okay. So so here's another sort of weird comma rule, the Oxford comma, and another place where like intonation matters. So normally commas are used to separate items listed in a sentence. And the Oxford comma or the serial comma is that like optional comma before the end at the end of the list. So Sandy hired a painter, a musician, a DJ, and a clown. That very last comma there, that's the Oxford comma. And most of the time it is legit optional. Now, like certain style guides, like Chicago generally recommends using the Oxford comma. So if you're going by a particular style guide, then it might not feel optional to you. But in most cases, it's not. I mean, it's not really absolutely 100% necessary because in the example above, you really wouldn't have any confusion if you didn't have that comma. So, like, you would know with or without the comma that when I say Sandy hired a painter, a musician, a DJ, and a clown, that's probably 4 separate people. But the trouble comes in when there's some potential confusion. So, I mean, there are times when that extra comma is especially useful and could provide some clarity to an otherwise ambiguous sentence. So, for example, Sandy loves her husband, a painter and a musician. With the Oxford comma here.
Sandy's into kink.
Yeah, Sandy's into threesomes. Okay,
Yeah.
she's
This is the sort of stuff I write.
yeah, right, exactly. Or you know, at least she's two-timing her husband. But without the Oxford comma, Sandy loves her husband,
It
a
could be
painter.
romantic. It could,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, it could be romantic.
It could be a painter and a musician.
It could-
Sorry, I totally derailed this, as is my way. Keep going.
You did not. You did not. I mean, that's the whole thing, though, right? Like the comma, that like extra second comma makes it so that I love 3 people. Without the comma, I love 1 who is both a painter and a musician. And I think that's. I mean, I think that I mean, that makes total sense, right? The problem is that even though this probably makes sense to us, the style guides really aren't super consistent on this. So like back to the Chicago guide, you know, generally they're going to say use that Oxford comma almost as if like they don't trust you to figure out when it's ambiguous. So like use it just in case because it doesn't.
Well, this is also that creative writing versus what's the technical writing? I don't think technical writing is the right word I'm looking for, but academic. I pronounce that real weird. Academic writing versus creative writing.
Yeah, and I mean maybe it's just like obviously you're not going to use the Oxford comma in any style guide when you're trying to do example 2. Like you're definitely going to not have an extra comma there because that'll confuse everyone. But in the first example, I mean,
yeah, it's also important to know. I don't know if you had more to say. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm doing that thing I do.
Do the thing.
But I know I mentioned last week in the never aired one
Yeah.
that some publishers still don't accept Oxford commas. Now, if you're going through a major publishing house and they have a rule like that, they'll do it for you. That'll come out of, you know, all of their ridiculous fees. But a lot of publishers are still going by the fact that every single marking is more money in the book. So that little stupid comma apparently ruins their bottom line.
Wait, seriously? That's
Yeah,
why they do
yeah.
it?
I know specifically Harlequin, but I'm sure that other publishers, and Harlequin is a major publisher certainly. But I'm sure that there are others who do that as well.
Wow, wouldn't you think it would more ruin the bottom line if there was like massive confusion? Because
I think the human brain is an incredible thing that is able to recognize this. And also, I feel like the bulk of Harlequin readers are probably our age and older. And I'm sure, Sandy, you're in the same situation as me that I was not taught the Oxford comma growing up.
oh, no, no. So I was.
Oh,
If I wasn't, it got pounded into my head as a lawyer. So like as
oh yeah,
soon
yeah,
as
yeah,
I
absolutely. Like by high
uh,
school, like I remember it being something very confusing for us on like the standardized tests. Like when we went into like the SAT, ACT time,
mm.
um, there was a lot of, you know, Mrs. Jenkins, does this comma exist or not? We need to know so we can get into the first college of our choice. And
Oh my
not
God.
have to have our parents buy off admissions.
Yeah, no, that was not something I remember. I don't actually remember it coming up. Like the first time I remember thinking about it was an internship in a law firm
Yeah.
where I found out that my law firm had a preference for the Oxford comma. Like it was like a law firm style thing, which I thought was crazy because and then since it was a style thing, then you like adapt it. It was I don't know. Maybe my formative grammar years were later than yours.
Everything should have been about the same time, but we were in
Oh,
different
should have been.
regions at the time. I was in New England, and you were in the Midwest, right?
Yeah, no, mine could be all messed up.
Yeah.
But hey, let's do yours because you have a
Yes.
really interesting one here too.
Yes. Okay. And again, bear with me because I'm doing that PowerPoint thing, and I'm not smart enough for my computer. Oh, why did I do that? Okay. Um, you're probably going to get, oh no, you know what? You're not going to get anything weird on the screen this time because I've got, oh, we're probably going to have that like everything repeating on itself. Oh no, it's
Oh,
just me. It's just me. I'm sorry. I'll be there in a second, I promise. I'm going to be doing restrictive versus non-restrictive. Oh, you jerk.
wait, it looks good.
Uh,
It's all there.
how do I say? Okay, I'm just gonna, instead of like trying to figure this out, I'm gonna just cycle through this and accept this because I have hit panic mode. Oh, why does it take so long? There we go. Okay, so I'm doing restrictive versus non-restrictive elements. And what I mean by restrictive and non-restrictive is a restrictive element is something like the phrase Sandy in the phrase my friend Sandy. It's restrictive because I have more than one friend. So by adding Sandy onto this statement, I'm clarifying which friend. I am restricting the possible people that I'm referring to down to any of my friends named Sandy, which is exactly one. Fun fact, I hate every single other Sandy in my life. It's a weird coincidence. The alternative is the non-restrictive clause. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is more of the explanation on it. I didn't look at my slides. So, yes, Sandy is the friend I'm referring to. I just explained that. Okay. So, a non-restrictive clause or word would be Marilyn in the phrase my mom Marilyn. Oh, that was one of the punctuation errors right there. Non-restrictive should have had a colon after it. I'm sorry. Don't mind my ramble. Okay. So in this case, the word Marilyn does not restrict anything because I only have one mom. And that mom is Marilyn. So it's just additional information. And again, I've got more info here and I'm just not getting to it in time. So by giving her name, I don't restrict the elements in the group because there was already only one element in the group. And an example of a sentence that is using these commas correctly is I would never force my friend Sandy to hang out with my mom, comma Marilyn, because she is the devil. So just to, yeah, I think I've got it. Did I say it pretty clearly this time?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And one thing that is important on this is it's not commutative. So When you say, when you put the name first, I hang out with Sandy, my friend, you do need to have that comma there. Um, yeah, okay. So that is the basics for this. And the thing with this is that it's not, because this is something that is a function of ambiguity more so than actual grammatical rules. It's not necessarily a necessary comma or necessary omission of a comma. If I have the comma there or not for my friend Sandy, we know what I'm saying. It's not essential for it to be there. The same thing with my mom, Marilyn. It should be there. Also, I didn't mention it in this, but in this case, if I was to say my mom, Marilyn, and my friend Sandy, I would want Marilyn bracketed by commas. So Marilyn should have a comma on either side if it's in the middle of a sentence, because again, it is an aside thought. Sorry, I should have put that in a slide, and I just now thought about it. So in most situations, they're not necessary. Now I'm going to go into situations where it is necessary. And in that case, it's a phrase like the gas station where I buy soda. Having that comma there changes the meaning of the sentence. Oh, and you see here that I do have it bracketed. So that was what I was trying to say before with my mom, Marilyn. I should have a comma on both sides of that if it's going to further into the sentence. So in the first situation where there is no comma, the gas station where I buy soda is clarifying which gas station that I am talking about. So an example of a sentence where this would work is the gas station where I buy soda is a great place to meet because the other gas stations are sketchy. So in this scenario, there are multiple gas stations, and where I buy soda is specifying which gas station I want us to meet at. The alternative, the gas station, comma, where I buy soda, is just saying that that one gas station, the only gas station, we've already clarified that I'm referring to the only gas station, but also it is where I buy soda. So to clarify on this, the gas station where I buy soda is a great place to meet because my town is so small, we only have one gas station. So in this sentence, where I buy soda is just an extra note. It might come into play somewhere, like in the grand scheme of a story. It might be something that's relevant later. It could be foreshadowing. I don't know. It'd be a real weird thing to foreshadow, but that's okay. But this is something that does become relevant in other situations, that it's, you know, how it's, you know, it gives you more information, because again, this particular one, if we didn't have that extra statement at the end, because my town is so small, we only have one gas station, the first part of that statement, the gas station where I buy soda is a great place to meet, is a good way to hint that that is the only gas station in town. Yeah, that's it for that.
I think that's a really useful one. I mean, to me, this is it's something that I think I do intuitively in your examples, but not in the my friend, my mom. Like in the complicated one, it's
that
easy.
one is messed up all the time. Again, like your independent clause and dependent clause. This one is one that gets messed up all the time.
Oh, but this is a really easy one to break because the independent-dependent clause, you know, that's sort of pounded into us in like 5th grade. But like this is obscure, and we don't necessarily have a good reason to remember it. So
just because it gets pounded into us in 6th grade doesn't mean that we actually follow it, though.
True.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Okay,
that
I'm sorry.
was another beautiful cake right there. That
is, oh, it's the green. You know, what's funny is we're just in like one of my ombre sprees. I really enjoy doing ombre on cakes. So there's a lot of screenshots lots of that. People like to order that a lot too. So it is 5:46 though, so we need to get to the very last sprint, which is going to be 10 minutes. We'll start now is actually 47 past, so we will see you at it'll be 3 of.
Okay, we are back.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So I actually got some writing done. Like there's a
Good,
scene that,
good.
yeah, maybe I'll be able to finish this chapter, and then maybe I can do an epilogue, and it could just be the end of that.
Oh, you're actually at the end of this story.
I am. I'm at like
Oh, okay.
chapter 20, and it's fan fiction. That's a lot of chapters. So, you know.
Yeah, no, I support it a little bit more now, knowing that you're about to finish it up
Yeah.
and move on to actual profitable pastures.
I mean, that's the problem, right? Is that I can't get done the stuff that I need to get done that could get paid. And also, it's just too many projects at once. I don't have enough time for it.
Yeah, but if next time you think about starting a fanfic, if you remember to ask me so I can tell you, no, don't do that. You'll be in a better situation.
I started this one like 2 years ago. It's been forever coming. In fact, it might have been before we started doing our write-ins. It's been that long. I mean, then there was like a year between some chapters, but I just didn't work on it. I need to get it done and feel like
I need to finish it and put it to bed.
Because then I got another serialized project to start that's for my pen name, and it might be kind of fun and interesting. So, but anyways, okay.
Yeah.
So, and did you get some editing done today?
I did. I got all the way out to her freaking out about the stuck pig out on the lawn that they never ate at the party.
I really appreciated that character development for her.
I am really glad that you actually remember that stuck pig.
I did. I felt it was the kind of thing I would have been upset by. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why'd they have to do that?
And I really enjoyed that later. I was able to bring it back. I enjoyed that I was able to bring that into the story 3 times. Like the scaffolding and the scarlet letter. Like it was the whole progression of that evening.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, that's the pig on the lawn. Oh. Yeah. Well, that's good.
That's saying about the next Nathaniel Hawthorne. Am I even getting the author right on Scarlet Letter? I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I think you are. I think that's right. Okay. Boy, that was definitely one of those English books that I like skimmed. I was
because it sucks.
Yeah.
I watched the movie.
Oh, smart.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah. Say 2 writers with Scarlet Letter. Who actually reads that?
Scarlet Letter was terrible.
Yeah. All right. Well, so if you're watching, though, hopefully you got some good grammar tips from us today. And are we going to do grammar again next week? Or are we going to go back to some
I have no idea what
other thing? Okay. Maybe we'll do some grammar next week.
We could do grammar because it'll be the last week before camp starts back up.
Yes, that's true.
Or I guess we could also do like a camp primer. Do we want to do that next week, or do we want to do that on April 1st, on the first day of camp?
I think we should do that on the first day of camp. I think we should, because camp's such a little loosey-goosey, you know, and I feel like we should be...
Camp is extremely loosey-goosey.
Yeah. So grammar next week, loosey-goosey camp prep, April 1st.
Yes, cool. Perfect.
All right. All right, so if you're with us, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week for some more grammar.
Yeah.
All right.
Happy writing, everyone.
Happy writing.